The entire police station went silent. The moment Officer Ryan Keller ripped the sealed envelope in half, pieces of white paper drifted slowly onto the front desk. A receptionist gasped. A rookie officer whispered, "Ryan, what are you doing?" But Keller only laughed. "If it's so important, they can send another one." Across the counter stood a black woman in a charcoal business suit. She didn't yell. She didn't argue. She simply watched the torn papers fall to the floor. Her name was Angela Brooks, 44 years old, calm, composed. Not a single emotion crossed her face. Officer Keller leaned across the desk. "You've got 5 seconds to leave my station." Angela quietly asked, "Are you refusing to accept a sealed federal delivery?" Keller smiled. "I'm refusing to play your little game." He tossed the remaining pieces into a nearby trash can. Several people in the lobby stared in disbelief. An elderly man waiting to file a report slowly stood up. A young mother pulled her son a little closer. No one understood why the woman remained so calm. Then, Angela looked at the station clock. 10:14 a.m. She checked her watch. Right on time. Officer Keller frowned. "What does that mean?" Angela looked directly into his eyes. "It means you've just made this much more complicated." 30 minutes earlier. The morning had begun with chaos. Westbridge Police Department had already received 3 citizen complaints before 9 a.m. The chief was downtown, attending a city council hearing. Lieutenants were tied up in court. Officer Ryan Keller had been placed in charge of the front desk. He loved the authority. For years, co-workers had warned him about one habit. He acted first and verified later. Most of the time, he got away with it. Today would be different. At exactly 10:10 a.m., Angela Brooks entered the station. No flashing badge, no dramatic entrance, just a sealed government courier envelope, requiring a documented chain of custody. She approached the counter. "Good morning. I have sealed federal documents that must be accepted by the station commander or acting supervisor." Keller barely looked up. "Leave them there." "I'm afraid I can't." "The recipient must acknowledge delivery." He rolled his eyes. "So now you're telling me how to do my job?" Angela remained polite. "I'm explaining the delivery requirements." People in the lobby began watching. Keller stood. "I've seen enough fake paperwork to recognize another one." Angela answered calmly, "I haven't asked you to believe me. I've asked you to follow procedure." The comment only irritated him more. Without reading the envelope, without checking her identification, without calling a supervisor, he grabbed it, ripped it open, then tore the contents into pieces. The sound echoed through the lobby. Silence followed. Angela slowly exhaled. "I was hoping you wouldn't do that." Keller smirked. "What are you going to do? Call Washington?" Angela looked at the security camera mounted above the reception desk, then at the shredded papers in the trash. Finally. She reached into her briefcase, not for another document, not for a badge, for her phone. She pressed a single contact already waiting at the top of the screen. The call connected on the first ring. Her voice remained calm. "This is Angela Brooks." Delivery attempt completed. She looked directly at Officer Keller. The federal documents were intentionally destroyed in front of witnesses. A pause. Then she added one final sentence. "Please proceed with Phase 2. She ended the call. Officer Keller laughed. "Is that supposed to scare me?" Angela didn't answer. Outside, 3 black SUVs slowly turned into the station parking lot. No sirens, no flashing lights, just dark vehicles, moving with quiet purpose. The receptionist walked toward the front window. "Officer Keller?" He looked up. "What?" Her face had turned pale. I think you should see who's outside." The lobby went completely silent. Officer Ryan Keller frowned. "What now?" The receptionist stood frozen beside the front window. "There are 3 black SUVs pulling into the parking lot." Everyone in the station instinctively looked outside. The vehicles stopped one by one. Their doors opened. Several professionally dressed federal officials stepped out, accompanied by U.S. Marshals assigned to secure the scene, while official investigators entered the building. Officer Keller laughed nervously. "So what? They're probably here for something else." Angela Brooks calmly adjusted her briefcase. "Maybe. But let's find out." The station doors slowly swung open. The first person inside was a middle-aged man in a dark navy suit. Behind him came 2 investigators carrying locked document cases. Several U.S. Marshals remained near the entrance, not threatening anyone, simply securing the building while the investigators conducted official business. The lead official looked around the lobby. His eyes stopped on Angela. "Ms. Brooks," she nodded. "Good morning." He noticed the shredded paper inside the trash bin, then the torn envelope lying across the reception counter. His expression immediately changed. "What happened here?" Angela answered calmly. "The sealed delivery was intentionally destroyed before it was accepted." The official slowly turned toward Officer Keller. "You destroyed federal documents?" Keller crossed his arms. "I destroyed fake paperwork." "You people can't just walk in here pretending," the official interrupted him. "Did you verify the documents?" "No." "Did you verify her identity?" "No." "Did you contact your acting supervisor?" "No." Every answer made the room quieter. Angela pointed toward the ceiling. "The entire interaction was captured on your own security cameras." The lead investigator looked at another official. "Preserve all surveillance footage immediately." One investigator walked toward the station's evidence office. Another began photographing the torn documents. Only now, Officer Keller realized no one was arguing with him. No one was raising their voice. They were simply documenting everything. That frightened him far more. At that moment, the station's acting commander, Captain David Morales, hurried through the hallway. A 54-year-old Hispanic officer with nearly 3 decades of service. "What is going on?" The lead investigator handed him official identification. "I'm Daniel Foster, Federal Oversight Division." Captain Morales quickly reviewed the credentials. His face turned serious. "You were scheduled for next week." Daniel Foster nodded. "We were." He looked toward Angela. "But today's events accelerated the process." Captain Morales turned toward Officer Keller. "What happened?" Before Keller could answer, Angela quietly spoke. "I'd rather let the video explain." The security footage played inside the briefing room. Every second, every word, every action. The video showed Angela politely requesting a receipt for the sealed delivery. It showed Officer Keller refusing to verify anything. Then, the moment everyone dreaded, the envelope being ripped apart, the room remained silent until the recording ended. Captain Morales slowly removed his glasses. He looked exhausted, not angry, disappointed. He turned toward Keller. "You didn't follow a single department procedure." Keller finally spoke. "I thought she was lying." Captain Morales answered quietly. "You didn't know. Because you never asked." For the first time, Angela opened her briefcase. She removed another sealed folder. "This is the duplicate copy. The original was never the important part." Everyone looked confused. She continued. "The real purpose of today's visit was to observe how the station handled an official delivery under pressure." The investigators nodded. This was part of a broader fictional oversight scenario designed to evaluate procedures, professionalism, and chain of custody practices. Captain Morales closed his eyes for a moment. "We failed." Daniel Foster answered honestly. One officer failed. The rest of your department will be evaluated on how it responds now. Just then, Captain Morales' phone rang. It was the police chief. After listening for a few seconds, his expression became even more serious. He slowly looked at everyone in the room. The chief is returning immediately. He ended the call, then looked directly at Officer Keller. Until further notice. Turn in your badge. The room became completely silent. Officer Keller stared at him in disbelief. You can't be serious. Captain Morales answered calmly. I've never been more serious. Outside, more federal vehicles arrived. Inside, everyone realized this was no longer about one torn envelope. It was about the culture inside the station, and someone was about to answer for it. The briefing room was silent. Officer Ryan Keller slowly unclipped his badge. No one spoke. Not because they were afraid, but because everyone had just watched the same security footage. Every decision, every warning, every opportunity to do the right thing, ignored. Captain David Morales placed the badge on the conference table. This isn't about one envelope. He looked directly at Keller. It's about every choice you made before you tore it apart. Angela Brooks opened the second sealed folder. This copy contains exactly what was in the first envelope. She slid it across the table. Captain Morales carefully opened it. Inside were official notices, documentation logs, and instructions for the scheduled oversight review. Nothing dramatic, nothing secret, nothing that justified the confrontation. Morales sighed. If we'd simply followed procedure, this meeting would have lasted 5 minutes. Angela nodded. Exactly. Daniel Foster, the lead investigator, addressed the room. People often imagine that trust is lost through one big mistake. He shook his head. It usually disappears through small decisions. Not verifying identity. Not reading documents. Not treating people with respect. He looked at Keller. You assumed you already knew the truth. Minutes later, Police Chief Eleanor Grant entered the station. She walked straight into the briefing room. No one needed to explain. She had already reviewed the security footage. She looked at Angela. Ms. Brooks, on behalf of this department, I'm sorry. Angela appreciated the apology. But she answered honestly. Respect isn't measured by an apology. It's measured by what happens next. Word spread quickly through the building. Officers gathered quietly in the hallway. Many had worked with Keller for years. Some defended him, others couldn't. One veteran sergeant finally spoke. I've worn this badge for 26 years. The badge doesn't make us worthy of respect. Our actions do. The hallway fell silent. Chief Grant addressed every officer. Starting today, every employee, from recruits to command staff, will complete new training focused on professionalism, procedure, and impartial decision-making. She paused. And every citizen who walks through these doors will be treated with the same respect, whether they're wearing work boots, a business suit, or carrying a sealed envelope. Angela smiled for the first time that day. That's all I hoped to hear. As the meeting ended, Keller quietly asked Angela, Can I ask you something? She nodded. When you walked into the station, did you already know this might happen? Angela thought for a moment. I hoped it wouldn't. She looked toward the lobby. I always hope people choose professionalism over assumptions. She picked up her briefcase. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they don't. Outside, the afternoon sun reflected off the station windows. Inside, everyone understood that the torn envelope had never been the biggest issue. The real problem was judging someone before giving them the chance to speak. And that lesson would change the department long after the paperwork was forgotten. The station had never been this quiet, not because officers were afraid, but because everyone had finally seen the truth. Captain David Morales slowly looked around the briefing room. For years, we've told this community that respect is our foundation. He paused. Today, we have to prove it. No one argued. The fictional State Public Integrity Task Force carefully reviewed every piece of evidence: the security footage, the witness statements, the torn documents. Every detail was documented. No one celebrated. No one smiled. Because this wasn't about punishing someone. It was about understanding how a single decision had damaged the public's trust. Officer Ryan Keller sat quietly for several minutes. Then he looked toward Angela Brooks. "I owe you an apology." Angela didn't interrupt. "I never asked your name. I never asked why you were here. I assumed I already knew." His voice cracked. "I was wrong." Angela answered calmly. "Thank you for saying it. But an apology is only the beginning." Ryan nodded. "I know." Police Chief Eleanor Grant stood before every officer gathered in the station. Effective immediately, Officer Keller is being placed on administrative leave while the department completes its internal review. She looked at the rest of the room. This review isn't just about one officer. It's about every system that allowed this moment to happen. The officers listened carefully. Some lowered their heads. Others exchanged thoughtful looks. Everyone understood the message. As the meeting ended, Angela gathered her briefcase. Chief Grant stopped her near the lobby. "I appreciate the professionalism you showed today." Angela smiled. "My father used to tell me something." Chief Grant waited. "Character isn't revealed when people treat you well. It's revealed when they don't." The chief quietly repeated the words. "That's something I'll remember." Before Angela reached the front doors, the young rookie officer who had witnessed everything hurried over. "Ms. Brooks," she turned. "I'm Officer Jason Miller. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry for what happened." Angela smiled warmly. "You weren't responsible." Jason shook his head. "Maybe not. But I was standing here. I should have spoken up." Angela nodded. "The next time you see something wrong, use your voice." Jason smiled. "I will." Outside, the afternoon sun shined across the parking lot. Angela paused before getting into her car. She looked back at the station. When she first arrived, she had seen a building where assumption spoke louder than respect. Now, she saw officers beginning to ask difficult questions, questions that could change the department for the better. Inside the station, Chief Grant addressed her leadership team one final time. Trust isn't rebuilt with speeches. It's rebuilt through actions. She looked toward the training room. "And tomorrow, we start." Every officer quietly nodded, because they knew. The hardest part wasn't admitting the mistake. The hardest part would be earning the community's trust back. 6 months later, Westbridge Police Station looked different. The building hadn't changed. The uniforms hadn't changed. But the people inside had. Every officer, from rookies to senior commanders, had completed months of new training focused on professionalism, communication, and treating every member of the public with dignity. The change wasn't perfect, but it was real. One rainy morning, the station doors opened. Officer Jason Miller looked toward the entrance. He smiled immediately. "Good morning, Ms. Brooks." Angela Brooks returned the smile. "Good morning, officer." This time, no one questioned why she was there. No one made assumptions. Jason politely asked, "How can we help you today?" Angela handed him a sealed envelope. Jason carefully checked the delivery instructions, verified her identification, signed the receipt, then thanked her. The entire process took less than 2 minutes. Angela smiled. That's exactly how it's supposed to work. Jason smiled back. We learned that lesson. Across town, Ryan Keller was no longer wearing a police uniform. After completing the department's review process, he had accepted responsibility for his actions and left the force. Instead of disappearing from the community, he chose to speak openly about the mistake that changed his life. At local leadership workshops, he often told the same story. I thought confidence meant acting fast. I learned that professionalism means slowing down long enough to understand the facts. Many people were surprised by his honesty. Others appreciated that he didn't blame anyone else. He accepted responsibility, and he worked every day to become a better person. Chief Eleanor Grant stood before a new class of recruits. She held up a simple sealed envelope. This looks ordinary. But today isn't about what's inside. It's about how you treat the person holding it. She walked across the room. You'll meet people from every background. Some will be angry. Some will be afraid. Some will be dressed in expensive suits. Others won't. But every single one deserves the same professionalism. The recruits listened carefully. None of them knew the full story. But every one of them understood the lesson. Later that afternoon, Angela met Chief Grant at a neighborhood community center. Children played basketball outside. Families gathered for a local safety event. There were no cameras, no reporters, just neighbors talking with officers. Chief Grant smiled. This is where trust begins. Angela nodded. Not inside conference rooms. Out here. One conversation at a time. The chief looked around at the families laughing together. We still have work to do. Angela smiled. The important thing is, you're doing it. As the sun began to set over Westbridge, Angela walked toward her car. She looked back one final time at the community center. Months earlier, one torn envelope had revealed a much bigger problem. Not because of the paper, but because of the assumptions behind it. Real respect isn't something a badge, a title, or a uniform can demand. It's something people earn every single day through patience, fairness, and the willingness to listen before judging. Sometimes, the strongest person in the room isn't the one with the loudest voice. It's the one who stays calm, speaks with dignity, and lets the truth speak for itself. Never judge someone's importance by their appearance, their job, or the assumptions you make in a single moment. The smallest act of respect can prevent the biggest mistake. Professionalism begins with one simple question. How can I help you? If this fictional story reminded you that respect should always come before assumptions, leave a comment with "Respect first."